This is our beautiful beach before all the pollution, and this is after. My son and I have been coming down to this beach for years, and it usually looks like this. Clean and pristine. But on April 10th, 2026, what we thought was going to be a normal day at the beach, we found this. And I'll tell you, it was disturbing. How could this have happened to our local beach, and what is this stuff? These are the questions we focused on during our investigation, and what we found definitely was not what we expected. I started the investigation by researching what are the most likely causes of this pollution. Then I turned my attention to the local wildlife, which led me to a simple experiment proving exactly where the pollution came from. Some of the most common forms of pollution comes from fertilizers, pet waste, and wastewater, which can cause algae blooms and growth. Also, runoff from urban areas, farms, and forests can carry pesticides and heavy metals. Oil and grease can spill from tankers and vehicles. And then there's dangerous chemical spills. Up next are 3 surprising visual clues that helped us narrow down the possible causes. It's a bright yellow color, almost unnatural, like a paint or a dye. It's a thick and cloudy material, which suggests it might be a sediment. It seems to be collecting more in some areas than others, maybe because of the water depth or the current. There's also no weird odor, and you'll see later, it has an interesting texture, which helps me discover the root cause of this pollution. 80% of all water pollution comes from the land in the form of runoff. That tells me that this yellow stuff is not runoff because it's flowing from out in the bay and into this small tributary. If it was runoff, it would be flowing out. This eliminates a lot of possible pollutants like sewage or farmland pesticides. So maybe it's a chemical spill or a dangerous algae bloom. I don't see any large vessels out in the open water, nor do I see any emergency boats. I'm certain there would be a cleanup crew if there was a big incident from a tanker. Concerning the dangerous algae growth, I think it's typically red colored or bright green. Also, our town tests our local waterways regularly for that exact reason. This beach was open to the public, and there's also several other visitors here. What else could make our beach look like this?
Should we pick it up?
Oh yeah.
I decided to check out the local wildlife to see if there were any clues that I missed. And then I saw this guy, and you're about to see the most important clue of the entire investigation.
Well, there's like a hole there. I guess that's where he lives.
I want to pick groundhogs.
While observing one of our local fluffy friends, everything seemed healthy and normal. I didn't notice any important clues. However, you're about to hear how my son completely changed the direction of our investigation with this one important question.
What do you think groundhogs eat?
With no good answer to my son's question, there's only one way to find out.
Let's watch him a little bit, see what he's eating.
Might be eating like bugs. Probably grass, branches.
At first, we couldn't really see exactly what this fluff ball was eating, but then I saw it. If you look closely, you might be able to spot it. Do you see that one little flower? At first it might seem unimportant or just a nice snack for this groundhog. But actually, this important clue helped me solve the entire mystery. And it helped not by showing me what the pollution was, but by showing me what the pollution was not. And you're about to see how in this simple experiment. But first, if you've made it this far, hit that like and subscribe button. My son and I really enjoy making these videos, and we would love it if you join us on our next adventure. Now back to the experiment. The first of 3 steps in this experiment is my hypothesis. You remember that little yellow flower we found earlier? Could this plant be the culprit of all this pollution? In order to conduct the experiment, I needed samples from the area, so I gathered as many yellow flowers as I could find. I also found these things, which were everywhere, and they're actually called sweet gum tree flowers. Next, I needed to collect some of the water that I was testing. I wanted the results, as interesting as they may be, to be as accurate as possible. The next steps were easy. Fill up a container with the water and submerge as many of these yellow colored plants as I can fit. Then I just have to wait. I was certain that after some time the yellow plants would dissolve and turn into that yellow gunk that we found at the beach. After about a day, all I could see was brown water, so I added a bunch of those little yellow seeds from those gum tree flowers. Another day went by and still just brown water. My experiment was failing. But then I had what I like to call a moment of clarity. I found the answer, but it wasn't at the beach. In fact, after we walked home, I discovered it just sitting in my driveway. The mystery was solved, thanks to the groundhog, the flower, a great question by my son, and one last important clue. A dirty car. That's right. You see all this yellow dust? That's pollen. Not pollen directly from the flower, but pollen from the air. There was so much pollen in the air that when gravity pulled it down onto the water, the currents created a river of yellow gunk. And you're gonna see just how easy it was for me to prove it. All I had to do was collect pollen from my dirty vehicles, dump it into the water sample, and ta-da! Yellow gunk, but on a smaller scale. Nature is so weird, unpredictable, and fascinating. Sometimes all you need is a little curiosity and a nice day, and we can learn so much. Life is one big, beautiful, sometimes very confusing cycle of events and circumstances that keep things moving and growing. We learned something super important today. If you start with some bees,
What do bees eat?
then pollinate some flowers,
He's actually eating the flower now.
you add in a little airborne algae, and what do you get? A dirty jellyfish. Now let's make things just a little better than when we found it and clean this guy up.
I'm gonna say that can stick.
Pour it from the top. It's got a feather stuck to it too. It's got like a, oh, it caught a feather. Maybe it ate a bird.
How can a jellyfish eat a bird?
Maybe they just got stuck.